All right, today we begin a new chapter of Keith's Test Garage, which is the build out and usage of the Keith's Test Garage mobile workshop. And bonus, this is also the kickoff of the usability design series that I've wanted to do for so long. So we'll get back to the pancakes later on. Now, most of you know how much I love small spaces and designing for small spaces. It makes you get creative and think through all kinds of cool usability concepts because you have to. But this here is going to be a challenge. It's a 5x8 cargo trailer, which is basically a tiny U-Haul. All right, check this out. I'm seeing some 5x8 U-Haul trailers being pulled by tiny cars. Here's Subaru or something, Saturn, Prius. Check out this one. It's like the Pontiac version of the Chevy Beretta, I think.
I was way off.
To put that in perspective, it's only 1 foot wider than a single piece of plywood. You can see the single piece of plywood right here and the extra foot right there. Now, before we take a closer look at the interior and the starting point for this project, take a minute and subscribe. That's kind of nice. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified, because this is going to be the beginning of an interesting series of videos about usability concepts. You know, how do we create spaces, design spaces to be most usable on a scale of usability to amplify those spaces for both increasing the space we have available to use as well as the fluency of using that space. So yeah, follow along. This is something I really enjoy. We're going to cover some concepts that are often super well covered in the web design and app design spaces, but I haven't heard a lot of coverage in the doing stuff and remodeling spaces, yet we're all designing spaces to be used, remodeling or constructing spaces that people are going to use, that users will use. And so usability is a key factor here. Subscribe, be notified, for you and for me, helps us both. Let's get on with it. All right, let me tell you about the design, the current design of this, because it parallels where I'm going to be going with this the next few days, weeks, months. Several years ago, we bought this thing from the rock band Paralandra. And I turned it into a little camping trailer for camping gear. We'd haul this behind our minivan, go tent camping, have everything in buckets underneath that table, have a place to put stuff on the table, put the rest of the junk in there. Some strip lights up here, basic strips just kind of hung up there. Electronics, fuse box, controller for the fan. That way, if it rains or if we have wet stuff in here, we can at least have some ventilation going. A few basic tools, straps and clamps, whatnot up there. Power coming in from the outside right here. And I used to have 2 deep cycle batteries over here. Those died. But this is what we're looking at for a starting point. Besides the ceiling height, this is a really good starting point for a mobile workshop. Got the little counter, got some lighting, some electrical stuff, but this is also a really good starting point for some discussions about usability design. What do you do when you start thinking about a space and how you're going to outfit it to be highly usable for a specific use for some users? Let's talk about pancakes. Here we have 3 different categories of usability design considerations. The pancakes represent common usability design considerations that apply to a lot of people, or the majority of people who use the type of thing you're trying to build. The toppings are the more user-specific design considerations, the usability design that increases usability only for a smaller group of users, more preferential usability design, and the utensils on the plate represent usability enablers. Let's go through this with a few examples. Now we're going to start with the bottom pancake, which represents the minimum usability of a thing. A cargo trailer should be able to haul things from place to place. A drawer should be able to hold things and tuck them back into a cabinet. A pancake breakfast should at least have the bottom pancake. May not have any other pancakes on top, may not have any toppings, may not have a fork or a plate, but you can eat the bottom pancake like a taco and it's still a pancake breakfast. And the reason I bring that up is that when we start talking about usability design, and when we start being influenced by usability designers like Adam Savage, it's a great book by the way, or lusting after Ron Paulk's incredible mobile workshop builds, or implementing Zach Friedman's Gridfinity system, which isn't an organization system as it looks. It's really a usability system with organization as a second factor, which is the way it should be.
In other words, your workshop will help you finish projects.
Another video, another day. The reason I bring this up is that we tend to be influenced by these incredible usability ideas, and we forget sometimes that the bottom pancake is sometimes all we need. Sometimes this is 100% usability, and this is completely overkill for a project. I'm not against overkill, I love overkill. But oopsie overkill is kind of a waste of time, waste of money. So when we're designing for usability, I found it important to at least go ahead and recognize the bottom pancake, to then say like, oh, all I'm doing is a junk drawer. I don't need organization in this drawer. You know, move to other drawers. Don't overthink the junk drawer. Or if all you're doing is hauling your stuff from one part of the country to the other, all you need is an empty trailer. No need to Ron Paulk that thing, just cram and uncram the stuff. Streamline. An example for streamlining is that we have this bucket that our tent fits in. We all know the tent doesn't fit in the tent bag, but it does fit in this great big tent bucket, along with the tent tarp and the aftermarket tent stakes, streamlining the process of setting up and packing up the tent. It doesn't eliminate any steps. It eliminates the frustration, but it doesn't eliminate steps. The Simplify pancake eliminates parts of the process that we just don't really need to do. For example, we used to have this cooking bucket right here. Spatulas, pots, pans, cast iron griddles, and skillets and whatnot. Anything that dealt with heat and cooking was right here in a bucket, easy to access, just drop the door, get out what we need. No longer did we have to unpack our stuff, get all the cooking supplies set up in a usable manner around the picnic table. We can now just go get the thing we need when we need it. Now, as for the fork and the plate and maybe the knife, these are usability enablers. Sufficient lighting. Doesn't even have to be good lighting, just sufficient lighting so we can see our stuff. A little bit of empty space so we can move around, we're not gridlocked, and so we can move more tools into our space. These types of things I think we're pretty good at already. We tend to gravitate towards designing for these types of things. They impact usability on kind of a widespread basis, but I'm obsessed with the toppings. That's where we get to identify the specific user or group of users and also identify their particular context and design around that. And that is where we can bring a lot of usability magic to our users. Let me give you some examples. This here is one of them, this torch. I love fire and making fire quick. I love being able to reach in here. Likewise, being able to having this right here is so nice and brings a little bit of a special feeling whenever I use it. It has that nice tactile sort of feedback when it goes and sort of sucks right in there. And the axe is along the same lines. Open up the door and it's right here. And also easily put awayable. Clamps right in there. And finally, here's an example of a super highly user-specific usability topping that I love immensely. The air hose. Not that one though. This one. As it turns out, we tend to do projects around this house, and it's super nice to be able to use air tools by hooking up to a regulator in the middle of our house rather than in the garage, through the kitchen, through the dining room, through the living room, down the hallway, and into whatever room we're working on. All right, well, enough yapping. I got to get going on this project that starts in 9 days, so I need to outfit the trailer before then. I hope this gives you a few different kind of approaches or angles in which to view usability design. I think there's a lot of magic in the toppings, the highly user-focused design. We can bring a lot of value if we study our users and think about those toppings. So, it's go time.